I really hate Dabo. I think he's just he's on my short list of coaches who I can't stand and I wish ill will on. But I do agree with him that there's not 12 teams good enough for the college football playoffs. But if he's a man of his word, he should go ahead and quit, because once players get paid, he's going to quit coaching football, because that's not what it's about.
Yeah, I thought he was supposed to announce his retirement.
Yeah, the guy's just a scumbag, slime ball. I don't know of a coach who is as dirty as Dabo. So, this
dirty Dabo,
this church going, God fearing, country, good old boy is just a cheating scumbag.
I love it. Nate's back.
Hey guys, it's Terrence Mann. You're listening to Hear the Spirit, presented by No Game Day. Go Noles.
Hey, what's up? This is Peter Ward, aka E-Dub, in the house. So we're listening to Hear the Spirit, presented by No Game Day. Go Live, go Noles.
Hi, this is Charlie Ward, and you're listening to Hear the Spirit. Go Noles.
This is Terrell Buckley. You're listening to Hear the Spirit, presented by No Game Day. No Bloody.
But perhaps better known as the greatest corner to ever step on a football field, Deion Primetime Sanders.
Great Deion Sanders, my brother. What's going on, man? I could wake up to that greeting every day, man. That was awesome.
Hello, Noles fans. This is former Seminole Derek Brooks, and you're listening to Hear the Spirit, presented to you by No Game Day.
James Wilder Jr. What's going on, James?
Thanks for having me on. SSOD, Florida State or Die, and go Noles.
William Bar None Floyd.
Gentlemen, what's up?
What is happening, guys? This is Logan Robinson from Hear the Spirit, presented to you by No Game Day. We are on this wonderful Thursday evening with all the guys in the studio tonight. Man, I don't know. The stars have aligned. We've got everyone on the show. Like, go and punch your lottery ticket and head to the gas station. This is shocking, but we got a lot to talk about this evening. We've got Nate Greer, lead recruiting insider, back with us up here in the top right corner. Looks like he's ready to head into the Army with his new cut that he just got. We've got Austin Veazey back in the closet down below. We've got D-Lou at the bottom right hanging out with us this evening. Gentlemen, we got a lot of stuff to talk about on the dock. How are y'all doing?
Doing great. And I just want to welcome Nate back to the show. We have really missed your insight the last couple of weeks. So welcome back.
I really want to just compliment how great everyone looks. And everyone looks like they've been really working hard, working on their looks. I'm really proud of Logan's haircut. Dustin, you're looking very svelte. And Austin, that room looks just absolutely phenomenal. Man, everything looks really great.
I love how you comment on Logan's hair and he's wearing a hat. It's just perfect.
So I don't feel like that's real or not. But Nate, I do like your shirt there, your Wu-Tang Clan.
Yeah, I'm getting ready for battle.
It really does look like it. Like, are you getting ready for training camp?
I'm getting ready for the season, man. I'm getting ready for the season.
Are you going in or what? In what position?
I'm going. Left bitch.
Oh man. Yeah. Well, definitely appreciate everybody hanging out with us. If you're on live right now, feel free to hit the like button. If you're on YouTube, subscribe. You can always listen to this podcast on iTunes, Google Play, Spotify, and of course, just mentioned YouTube. But we've got a lot to talk about tonight. ACC Media Day for Florida State happened earlier this morning. Throughout the day, a lot of interviews there to look at. We're going to start off the podcast talking about Bobby Bowden and the news that just surfaced just yesterday. And then we've got a lot of stuff here to go over. We've got Cam Akers out for the 2021 season. We've got 2023 quarterback Chris Parson just committed earlier today on his birthday. Sean Payton's favoring Taysom Hill over Jameis Winston already. We'll see. We'll discuss that. And then Vince Williams retires from the NFL. At the end of the football category, we're also going to talk about the top concerns heading into fall camp. Gentlemen, let's go ahead and start off here with the Bobby Bowden news that we received yesterday. It was really, really a terrible day overall. Receiving the article from the Tallahassee Democrat. Coach Bowden has been diagnosed with a terminal illness. His brother, Terry Bowden, actually shared the news that he has been diagnosed with pancreatic cancer. and the Bowden family is there supporting Coach. We know I've been around Coach Ann a lot, definitely Coach Bowden too, but Coach Ann, Miss Ann is definitely going to be taking care of Bobby. And a quote here from Coach saying, "I've always tried to serve God's purpose for my life on and off the field, and I'm prepared for what is to come. My wife Ann and our family have been life's greatest blessing. I am at peace." And so this was shared yesterday from the Tallahassee Democrat, and extremely just something you never want to think about. Definitely for a man of that stature of Bobby Bowden. A lot of things, not only the things for me when I was younger, I'm sure we'll discuss, but for this town overall, Tallahassee, and college football across the nation. It was just a rough news to receive yesterday.
Yeah, I'm a little bit older than you guys, so I got to witness a lot more of that whole, the ascension of Florida State to, that truly elite program. So, I tweeted out, that's my coach. It's always been my favorite coach, and you knew the day is going to come at some point, but it still doesn't make it any less easier to hear that someone that you idolize growing up and someone that you really follow and really try to watch and everything he does, and for it to go sideways, like it seems like it's going to probably happen very quickly. It's just sad, that, someone that is the legend that he is, for me, he's the best coach in the history of college football. I don't care about everything else. You can have your own, argument with the wall. To me, he's the best. Everything he's done on and off the field, and just him as a person, man. I know a lot of people are, arguing on Twitter based off his political beliefs, but you just go ahead and separate that from this whole conversation and everything. So, for me, it is. You look at him as a person and what he's done for so many people, man. It's going to be a rough day.
Yeah, and I mean it's crushing because Bobby Bowden, he put Florida State on the map. Bobby Bowden is Florida State, really, and I didn't really get a chance to appreciate his tenure as much as I wish I would have, just because I was younger. But being a little bit older now and being able to look back on it and reflect on everything. You really see what he meant to the program then and what he still means to the program and people across the country now. So, outside of that, like Nate said, off the field, just an outstanding guy and a man of class. So it's very sad.
And I think it is important that we have Nate on here, who is older than us three, that just because he lived through it, I grew up starting with like the Drew Weatherford era, which was fine, but it wasn't the tenure you're used to. But I still came from a Florida State family. Both my parents went there. They were there in the 90s watching us win titles. So they idolized Bowden, as everyone should. He was that guy. And anytime, I think I met him twice, maybe 3 times. And just every time, Bobby was just such a great guy. Everything you hear in stories, everything you read in articles, he was the stand-up guy. He built Florida State brick by brick. And we all thought it was important to go to his last game in the Gator Bowl against West Virginia, just because, the last 6-7 years may not have gone the way everyone thought, but he was still Florida State. And you could see it the way all those former players showed up to that game, the way the crowd reacted after the game. You could tell that this is someone special. And the news yesterday was pretty depressing to a lot of people. I'm sure there was a lot of tears shed everywhere. But I think having a little bit of buffer period to get us ready was kind of needed.
Yeah, and like you look at, you talk about like that the end of the era. Yeah, it was not fun to watch as a fan, and it sucked the way it happened. I was there at that last game on the sideline and just interacting with the players and watching the team and everything. It was just, and watching him and in that press conference, I'm happy he went out with a W, but that guy's one of my idols as a kid. Bo Jackson, Walter Payton, Bobby Bowden, and Michael Jordan. It's like that's one reason why I became so ingrained in being a Florida State fan is, other than not being a Florida fan like most of my family and being different, choosing something else, but also, you read about someone and, his beliefs and who he is as a person. And, you root for him as a person, but also, becoming a Florida State fan is one of the reasons, that became a part of it because I was such a fan of the man himself. So everything aside what he did on the field just makes him not, in my eyes, that much of a greater person.
Mm-hmm. And he represented, Florida State in such a fantastic manner, highly respected across all of sports, definitely college football, of course, but, the former players that have, been publishing tweets and putting out Facebook posts and videos and wishing the Bowden family the best. And, also wishing Miss Ann the best too, because she's a phenomenal woman and, was right by his side through this whole entire journey too. And, I have so many fond memories of, Coach, and, a lot of people my age will probably, be remembered by a lot of the camps we were able to go to a lot of his football camps, and him coming, pulling you over to the golf cart and putting you on his lap and talking to you about football and just seeing how your day was going and certain things like that. And then just saying, "Dad gummit," he would never really cuss, but he'd say "Dad gummit" very consistently. And I probably wish he could say some words, but, he was just a man of the Lord. And, it's just, I don't know, it's terrible news. And for Tallahassee as a whole, and it just won't be a devastating day, a week, month, maybe year overall for this town, because he's done just so much, and they've lived in that same neighborhood here in Tallahassee. Everybody knows where they live, and they all respect that family and let them have their privacy. And he's done so much for the community, and he just wants to simply have some fun and play golf, and he's just a good man. So receiving that news was tough, and we were able to hear it from multiple other coaches. Jimbo Fisher spent a good amount of time answering that question and talking about Bobby Bowden and how much he meant to him and his coaching career overall, how he was as a man, how he took him inside of his house whenever he was younger, coming in for camps in Tallahassee. It's, a lot of people have gigantic amount of respect for Coach Bowden. So it just like I said, devastating news to receive, and we wish the Bowden family all of the best.
Yeah, it's not just coaches that, coach at Florida State. I saw Mike Leach say something about it during SEC Media Days yesterday, and I'm sure there's other coaches as well that said things that I'm sure I missed. And just college football in general, he innovated the game in such a way, especially offensively, bringing in Charlie Ward and that whole 93 team, really revolutionized offense for the next 20 years, and it's still growing now because of what he did in the 90s. And we'll never see a run like Florida State had in the 90s, 14 straight top fives. If the playoff system's integrated back then, Florida State's probably got 4 or 5 national championships instead of 2 that they got. But
man, listen,
he just did so much.
He was that first guy who was like, maybe a little bit before me, but that when the ability to manipulate the scholarships went away, and the field was even a little bit with scholarship limits and all that stuff, he was still the first one that wanted to go play whomever, whether it was, some powerhouse after a school like a Michigan or in Oklahoma or whoever. He was not afraid to play anyone because, he built his program on being the best and playing the best. So, play the best, you can be the best. And that's one thing that I don't think you didn't really see anymore either. You mentioned if the playoffs were around then, I think Florida State has, there's that picture that was been going around Twitter the last couple of days about with all those rings on. I think he has a lot more national championships if a playoff was around. Yeah, it made a lot more interesting as a fan to watch college football back then. When one game meant so much, and that's just how it was. Florida State had a lot of heartbreak, but if that playoff system was around, I think Florida State has 5, 6, 7, 8 championships. So no,
yeah,
and no one going to talk anything to me about him not being the best coach.
Mm-hmm. Looking at one insane stat here, from 1987 to 2000, Florida State won 10 games or more every single season and never finished a season ranked outside of the top 5. Not the top 10, not the top 50, not the top 25, the top 5. That is something that we will never see again in our lifetime.
Ever.
Really won't.
There's too much parity now. The fact that Bama got it to 7, and that was broken last year, 7 or 8, and that is an all-time run that Alabama is on right now. And they got halfway there. So just think about that. And that's when cheating was the wild, wild west. That's when everyone was just full on. It's different. It's different now. So
yeah, like I said earlier, we wish the Bowden family all of the best, and definitely for Coach, and that we'll be there supporting them, and this whole fan base is in love with them, and definitely Coach, and he's got a countrywide support, worldwide support behind him.
I gotta say this. Not to, get off track, but I kind of said it earlier. I think you're an asshole if you bring up his political beliefs at this point in time. I just think you're an asshole and you should not say anything.
Agreed.
So
I agree. There's some things that's internet though for you. That's internet, and
no, I don't agree with with his beliefs, but looking at him as still as that person.
Yeah.
Like building a Florida State, so y'all can relax with that.
Mm-hmm. Move on to the next topic here. We'll head to some news here that Florida State is very happy about. The staff is extremely excited about. They sent everybody, the whole staff, on him when he arrived on campus in June. 2023 quarterback Chris Parson has picked Florida State over Miami, Kentucky, Tennessee, and others. The 2023 kid, I don't think he's 6 foot 160 anymore. I know 247 Sports is listing him as that right now. Those are old rankings. COVID-19 hurt a lot of this, but this cat right here has a bright future. Looking at some of the film, we've done that multiple times so far. But gentlemen, what do y'all think about this pickup for Florida State? The staff was heavily after him, and what you said, Dustin, when you were interviewing him, he was telling that Norvell was telling him, you're my number one priority at quarterback.
Yeah, I mean, that was the first thing, since he hit campus in June, Florida State has shown him that he was a priority. And like you said, the entire staff was out there to greet him and his family whenever they arrived for that visit last month. And he got a chance to sit down with Mike Norvell one-on-one. And during the meeting, Norvell told him that he was at the top of their board for quarterbacks in the 2023 class. And, ever since then, it's really kind of been feeling like Parson was going to commit to Florida State. I didn't know it was going to happen this soon, but it also makes sense with how much of a priority Florida State has made him. And we talked about it earlier, but he's got those Seminole bloodlines. A cousin of Terrell Buckley, a legendary player in Florida State history. Going to Parsons' skill set, he's a great pickup for FSU. Very, very good arm. He makes good decisions. We've watched a little bit of his film, but he can make decisions on the fly. Like you'll see him roll out of the pocket, he'll look a guy off and then make a play downfield that goes for a big gain. So I'm really excited to see how he can continue to progress over these last 2 years.
Yeah, for me, a couple of names popped up early. early, when the process started, looking at 2023 kids, but Parsons kind of shot out real quick as soon as they identified him. It's kind of all the other names kind of went away. So like Dustin said, the staff has been very high on him for a long time. So to get your number one guy in 2 years early is another feather in the cap for what Norvell's done with the quarterback room since he's got at Florida State. Parsons isn't the biggest kid yet. He's still got 2 years to grow. But the thing that I really like about him is that I think he's got probably the best arm talent that Norvell has brought in or will bring in so far. Maybe other than, I think Duffy, is going to be the best quarterback that he's landed so far. But I think Parsons is right there, like Duffy, Parsons, Purdy. I think those three, if you look at what Florida State's done under Norvell, bringing those three guys in, you really elevate the room, and you have three guys who can legitimately make you highly competitive. So for FSU to land three classes, guys that can, and not to step away from what Purdy, has done. He hasn't had the best time so far, but in terms of talent, he's an extremely talented quarterback. So, Florida State lands another guy that fits what the offense does, and I really love his athleticism. He's an athlete, but I really like his ability to effortlessly throw the ball. So, his arm talent's great. He's going to continue to grow. I don't think he's 6 foot either, Logan. I think he's probably a little bit bigger. You made a really good point there. So I think some of these measurements are a little bit outdated. But 2 years out, super talented kid. For Florida State, like I was saying earlier, to get your number one guy early, can focus on some other positions. So, Florida State's just been killing it this offseason, and it's another one that you got to be excited about.
Yeah, and you mentioned his. Go ahead.
No, I was going to say, you look at the quarterback room before him, and just the difference. That's one reason to be excited about the direction of this program, because we've talked about ad nauseum on this podcast the importance of that quarterback position. So to get him on the boat early, get a guy that you can continue to recruit around and build around, it is something that it allows the staff to focus on other things. So.
Yeah, and you mentioned his athleticism, and he's definitely a dual threat quarterback. But the thing I really like when I watch him on film is normally he's using that speed to kind of maneuver around in the pocket while continuing to look downfield and make the play. You don't see him just kind of tucking and running immediately. There's a guy, he's going through his reads. He's, making sure he's protected, and he's making plays out there. So really excited to get him in the class, and he joins Lamont Green Jr., Randy Pittman, and Vondravius Jacobs in that 2023 class. 247 has it ranked as the number 6 class in the country. So an early start and a very good start for Florida State.
Hey, he's not going to be a 3-star.
No way.
But some of those videos Logan was showing, the reason why I think he's taller than 6 foot, he's got a long stride. If you watch him run, that's why I think he's probably taller than 6 feet. But great pickup.
And he's also killed the camp circuit this offseason.
Yep.
Yeah, I was going to say, too, looking at some of the training videos and him in the weight room so far, he's definitely put on some pounds. He's not a 160. I think he's probably 6'1", maybe 6'1.5 foot, but he's definitely still growing, definitely has a long stride, too. I was going to ask both of y'all, for the recruiting game here, where do you go back? You've got Duffy. It seems like maybe they're going to stick. We'll see. There's still a lot of time left. They stick with Duffy. Let's just say they have him only as a quarterback in that class. But you would think in this 2023 class, they're going to look at another quarterback. Is that what y'all are thinking the staff will do, is bring on another quarterback along with him?
I think it's too early to tell. Got to figure out what happens with, with everything else,
Mm-hmm.
By that time you're going to need to probably bring in 2, but it's a long way away to see, who else develops and who else can kind of emerge as another guy. But, I think I'm a huge Duffy fan. We've been saying on Conquer Talk how we think he's a surefire top 5 quarterback in the class. Long before Florida State was talking to him heavily, and before he committed, we were really high on him. And he's not going to wow you with a fastball, but he can make all the throws. His anticipation is what's going to really make him stand out in college, and that's one reason why I'm a big fan of him, is that he studies the game and he anticipates very well. And that's gonna help him early in college. And even if things unfold and you go from a Milton or to a Travis Purdy to a Duffy Parsons, I think that's a great lineage to continue to build the program on.
I'm going to mention, I guess Dustin, I think Nate kind of went through most of that right there and covered it pretty well.
Yeah, basically. I was just going to say, I do think Florida State is likely going to do their homework on landing a second quarterback in that 2023 class. We'll see if it comes to fruition.
Mm-hmm. Going on to some ACC Media Day, gentlemen. We're getting close. We're at the ACC kickoff. This week, we've got a lot of stuff a little bit here to talk about. You've got Jermaine Johnson, Mackenzie Milton, and Jordan Travis both attending. Nate, I was going to ask you, because we really didn't get the time to comment on it. You got 2 quarterbacks coming. Is it just, are you just bringing Jordan Travis along for the ride, or is this, a true quarterback battle? Because from Mike Norvell today, of course, he's not going to say much, but he says he respects both of them a lot. The main points about them, and telling that these 2 are extremely, extremely talented playmakers, incredible young men. But they bring 2 quarterbacks here. You're allowed to bring 3 this season. What is your thought process? Because as I just said, you're going to bring Mackenzie Milton either way, no matter what, for the PR. ACC is going to want that there, and all that kind of jazz. What do you think about that whole thing going on?
I think it's a great not tipping of the hand, but it doesn't change my thought process. Is that I think Milton's your quarterback, but Travis is going to have plays designed for him, and he's going to be on the field in some form or way, because you can't. He's too good with the ball in his hands, but it doesn't change my mindset that Milton's going to be the guy. I know we've been debating that in our text thread a little bit, but it also tells me is that the coaches think highly of both of them and think that they represent the university very well.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, they did. Mike Norvell talked a little bit about Jermaine Johnson too. He looked like a freak of nature compared with all these pictures going on during the day. The size difference is not even fair. Good thing those are just 2 quarterbacks and a coach, but there's a reason why Jermaine was brought here to the ACC kickoff. He really talked about coming to Florida State and this being a refresh to him. That was something that he talked about with a lot of the interviews that he was in. So this is kind of a refresh on his college career. He's looking to get to the quarterback quickly, and also Norvell commented on him and getting into that run game defense too and making plays there. He commented also a little bit about Keir Thomas and Fabian Lovett, of guys that he expects to have big seasons too. But Jermaine Johnson, the biggest thing I'm taking away from this is that this is kind of almost a year 1 for him kind of mindset he's going into it. And, another comment I'll put out there is that he says that we kind of hear this a lot, let's be honest, but he did say that he thinks that Florida State fans will be a little shocked about how much better Florida State will be this upcoming season.
Yeah, I was going to ask you guys that what you think of those thoughts. Yeah, I think Florida State fans are so kind of, I think, tired of the preseason stuff. Tired of being let down. But at least it's kind of good to hear someone at least want to think that. Thinking it is part of it too. You got to think you're great. You can't just be a timid chicken shit. So.
Yeah, and I mean, he is coming from a program that has won a lot of games recently in Georgia. So when you think about
chokes the big one, though,
Yeah, but when you think about a guy who just got on campus and now he's going through everything with Florida State, practicing with all the guys, and he's still making those kind of comments. You're hoping it's not just hype and that that's for real.
Yeah, but I think it's a mentality that this team is needed, though, too. From these transfers. From a Milton, from Jermaine, from Brandon Moore, all these guys that have tasted a lot of success in college. That's one of the big things with these transfers is that they've come from good programs that have done well. So, they know what it takes to win. So hopefully that can carry over to the team because, I'm sure we'll talk about it when we do these positional previews. This is still a really young team. If I'm not mistaken, it's one of the youngest teams in college football still. So, you need those upperclassmen to kind of take that leadership and that ownership of pushing these guys and having that positive mindset. I think is something that, this staff is really pushed, and it's good to kind of hear the players buy into that. So.
Yeah, Mackenzie Milton. He says that he feels 100%. Obviously, you want to be playing in that spring game if he wasn't, but he says that he feels 100% and he's good to go, and that's a good sign for FSU. You're looking at Andrew Parchment that comes in. I'm really excited to see him this upcoming year, but that's immediately who I think about when I think about Milton and using him as a passer and going down the field. We saw a little bit of it during the spring game. It kind of, I guess, shocked us, but it was just a whole 180 from what me and D-Lou saw in the stands, and then we see what happens in the spring game. We're like, oh, okay, that's Mackenzie Milton. That's the Mackenzie Milton we're used to seeing. That's what we saw at UCF, making those throws down the field, being able to move out of the pocket and get that ball right over the shoulder in a perfect spot where only the wide receiver can get in. That immediately think about Andrew Parchment, but I think that quarterback room is going to be a whole lot better. You've got Chubba Purdy back. Seems like he's going to be a full go. You also got Tate Rodemaker that's going to sit there and learn. But your top two guys with Jordan Travis and Mackenzie Milton, there's so much that these two can just keep finding or tuning each other. And whenever you definitely set up a game plan too, it's not really fair in a little bit. You could run a game plan behind Jordan Travis. You could run it ahead of Mackenzie Milton, depending on the benefits of what you can have against your team and the defense that you're facing. So it could be scary in how the game plan can go for Coach Dillingham along with Mike Norvell.
Yeah, and I don't know how good your bold prediction from last week is looking at this point, Logan, of Jordan Travis having a better fall camp than Mackenzie Milton. Because like you just said, he progressively seemed to get more comfortable than Florida.
No, you weren't here. We commented on it. We said, Nate, you should have been here. I don't think it's crazy, though. Y'all didn't say it was crazy. Dustin, don't act like you didn't say it. Then it's not really a bold prediction.
I wasn't paying attention. But, just Milton just progressively got more comfortable over the spring. We saw that come to fruition in the spring game. And to hear him say that he's 100% healthy now, and, you've got to think they've been going through player-led workouts for the last couple of weeks here as leading up to fall camp. I think his chemistry with the playmakers should be as good as it's been so far. And, I think he's going to have an outstanding fall camp.
I'm just going to go based off what I've heard from multiple players who the person is, and that's Mackenzie. So
Kenyatta says that Nate is just giving up hope. That's all you have to keep you alive.
Giving up hope for what?
I guess the season ahead, maybe after Jermaine's comments about shocking the fans about how good Florida State's going to be. I don't think it's going to be of the nature of Steven here. Steven, we're going to get you checked out immediately as soon as we can. Steven, though, I like the optimism.
Steven, that's going to be one of my concerns that we're talking about here in a little bit is how Florida State's going to extend the Moore Center for all the trophies they get this year.
Does anybody want to comment on the Miami's top safety who got suspended by Alabama?
He got kicked off the team, actually.
Yeah, kicked off the team.
I just saw that too. Yeah, so he was kicked off the team.
The number one safety in the country that they beat their chests about. The U is back.
That sure is. That's what we're used to seeing down there in the 305.
Goes and beats up a pregnant woman. Represent the U. Yeah.
Doing a good job down there, Manny. Doing a fantastic job down there. Any other comments, gentlemen, on the ACC Media Day? Anything strike you out from other teams? Maybe. Didn't really hear much on Dabo. I didn't I didn't see anything on Dabo.
I really hate Dabo. I think he's just he's on my short list of coaches who I can't stand and I wish ill will on. But I do agree with him that there's not 12 teams good enough for the college football playoffs. But if he's a man of his word, he should go ahead and quit because once players get paid, he's going to quit coaching football because that's not what it's about.
Yeah, I thought he was supposed to announce his retirement.
Yeah, the guy's just a scumbag, slime ball. I don't know of a coach who is as dirty as Dabo. So, this
dirty Dabo,
this church going, God fearing, country, good old boy is just a cheating scumbag. That's my thought on Dabo.
Nate Christopher says, "Give me some Dabo shade, please." And I think you did. And do you have any more saved in there? What is one of the reasons you hate the most about him?
Because he's fake. He this public persona of God and Jesus Christ and blah blah blah, and off the field he's just a cheating scumbag racist. For a guy to allow his coaching staff to purposely drop the N-word and not do anything about it,
Yeah, I thought that was pretty interesting.
I can't support that. And it continues to really blow my mind that these recruits continue to buy into it. Can't knock what he's done as a coach, but as a person, man, he's up there with Urban Meyer as just the elite scumbags of college football.
I love it. Nate's back. It's good to have Nate back after a 16-hour work day too.
Football, man.
Yeah, we're getting close. The head shaved. Got the Wu-Tang shirt on too. I mean, we're really priming up and getting into August. This is exactly how it's supposed to feel.
I think moving forward, I'm going to wear some war paint every podcast.
Oh God. Oh man, this is a good question here. We didn't have it on the docket, but gentlemen, as we know, it's breaking, developing story here with the Big 12. It doesn't really matter here with the ACC, but looking at Oklahoma and Texas, what they're considering, they're really wanting to get into the SEC. Doesn't make a whole lot of sense with me, definitely when you get into the money part of things. But what is y'all's thoughts on this with Oklahoma and Texas? Texas, I mean, that's a whole nother conversation. I don't know. That's just a whole different thing. But Oklahoma and the Longhorns trying to get in there with the SEC, the big dogs. It's just different over there.
I think that would just pretty much destroy the Big 12. I mean, who do you get to take their spot? SMU, Memphis. Like that's not being a jerk. That's like I think that destroys that conference.
Yeah, because at that point, what's their best brand?
Yeah, like
Oklahoma State. It's
and
like Kansas for basketball, obviously. Same with Baylor, but. But football-wise, it'd be a broken conference. I don't think they'd be able to sustain as a football conference. especially without the Texas and Oklahoma money.
I think it would fall apart like the Big East did with basketball and football. When those teams separated from there. But man, I mean, I get it. I think that, in my opinion, I think it would start like a massive realignment. I would hope that Florida State would really push to get an ACC. I couldn't care less where they really go as long as it's out of the ACC. I'd like to see them in the SEC. Where you go Big Ten, that doesn't make sense for Florida State to go to the Big Ten. Do they go to the Big 12 to take one of those spots from Texas, Oklahoma? I think it's interesting to see what happens.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
but I mean, is Texas looking at Texas A&M and seeing, the national recognition and the money they've gotten? What was it? I think did we talk about it on the podcast after the season? Where it was like $300 million per team. What
yeah. The pay cut, the pay that they got out of it was absolutely.
I thought it was like 23 something each or something.
It was something really stupid compared to the ACC and what they got. It was just like 2 to 3 times the amount.
Yeah, it was like the payment paid all of Gus Malzahn's buyout.
Yes. Yep. Yeah. Struck a check. Here you go. Boom, done. What else do we need? Oh, we need a new practice field. All right, we got that.
You go right ahead.
And that's what's going to be the difference moving forward. You can sit here and talk about the, this whole NIL thing and, what it means and what it does. But you look at Bryce Young, who's made apparently, 6-7 figures already. And that's going to be the major difference. Is these schools are going to figure out how to, sidestep that whole, if you make more than what it costs to go to school, you have to pay for it. All these schools are going to find ways to circumvent the system. And you're already seeing it. There's no damn way a guy who's never taken a meaningful college snap is going to make 7 figures already. Come on, give me a break.
Go back to the conversation of Big 12 breaking apart.
Yeah.
I think if FSU, I think we all assume stays ACC, you think adding West Virginia, then hopefully cornholing Notre Dame to stay in. They should have done it with this COVID year. They should have said, hey, you're either in the ACC or you don't play football this year. They should have done that. But
yeah,
I think West Virginia makes the most sense logistically.
I kind of agree with Austin. I think that kind of forces Notre Dame's hand a little bit, to kind of join the conference, because that turns the SEC into a super conference with Oklahoma and Texas and Alabama and LSU. It's just a name recognition. In Georgia, I think it's very interesting, and I think it's time that there's a massive overhaul. Does Florida State go independent? What happens there? There's a group of schools leave conference ties, and I'm eager to see what happens.
Mm-hmm. It's definitely an interesting conversation, and we'll see. It seems like it's developing very fast. Some big names from each university. I forget if they were presidents or whatever. Both teams had their representatives in a meeting, and they were a no-show. Both Oklahoma's and Texas.
I wonder what they want. I wonder if it's a ploy to get some concessions. Is there something that they really want, and that they kind of maybe want to stay in the conference, but there's something that they want? Is it more money? Is it a bigger cut?
Maybe it's competition.
Yeah.
Because that conference has been pretty bad outside of those 2 schools in football. Obviously, you've had the random Texas Tech year.
Baylor was good with Bryles for a while.
Yeah, but other than that, TCU's had some years, but there's been no mainstays.
Yeah, I mean, Missouri was good for a couple of years under Pinkel, and they left for the SEC. But I agree that conference has been 2 teams, and that's it.
Mm-hmm.
It's interesting.
Shout out to Eric, our guy, always coming on here supporting us with the 25 bomb. Chick-fil-A on me, NG crew. Great show as always. Let's go, Knowles. Definitely appreciate Eric coming through, man. Definitely appreciate it always. for
Feed me.
Yeah.
A couple media notes that I'm surprised y'all didn't get to. Norvell was on Brian McFadden's podcast.
That's all that.
I don't know if y'all saw this.
Yeah.
And I love the quote of, we're going to get this program back to where it deserves to be. And when we get there, we're going to stay there. And you could see he meant it. Like just the way he was saying it. And you could tell McFadden believed he was saying it. I haven't gotten a chance to listen to the entire podcast yet, just because today's my only day off. But I like that Norvell is doing these things, going to, this is a Bobby player. Make these guys your friends, because obviously McFadden's got a big platform and he does that podcast with Patrick Peterson. It can only help your situation. And speaking of that situation, I don't know, do any of you guys have a subscription to The Athletic?
I do not.
So they published an article last Friday about how can the big three, Florida, Florida State, and Miami, turn the recruiting tides in Florida, because since 2016, no schools have turned out more 5-stars from Florida than Alabama, Georgia, and Clemson. And it talks about how these coaches are attacking it differently. And they're talking to high school coaches from Tampa, Fort Lauderdale, Naples, Gainesville, Jacksonville, Tallahassee, pretty much all over Florida. And the thing that stuck out most was a lot of these guys are saying, this is the most organized staff that I've ever been around, I've ever communicated with. Consistently dropping Alex Atkins, Chris Marv, just time after time. Obviously, not every coach is going to love every school. There's some areas that Florida State doesn't recruit as hardly as others. But it was interesting to see that this is a very organized staff. This is a very A+ staff, A+ people, and they're going after our guys hard. So the one thing that did stick out was they're a little hesitant to pull the trigger on offers, which I read as they're trying to get this culture right. They're trying to find the right guys.
Well, if you look at it, that's kind of wrong, because Florida State has extended, I think it's like top 5 among all schools in the 2022 class and offers. They've offered a ton of guys.
But some of the things that these people were saying make sense, because a lot of these kids that are committed to Florida State right now are Georgia, Arizona. It's not all Florida kids. So I mean, it's a little bit of both. I don't know the exact math, but we don't have a ton of Florida kids committed right now.
So I talked to a coach in Southwest Florida who is been around for a long time, and by that I mean 20 years, which is a long time, in every level of the high school coaching ranks, from the assistant to being the head coach, and kind of what to follow up on what Austin was saying, that he made a comment that if Florida State starts to win, college football needs to watch out, because they're going to get it very quickly, and these coaches see just the detail and the desire to get it back. So, there's even these coaches are seeing that Florida State can show it on the field. They're getting the buy-in from these recruits. So if they get the results, it's going to turn very quickly, and you're going to start seeing those kids that are going to Bama, Clemson, Georgia. They're going to start staying home, and really, honestly, as much as I hate to say it, that's for any of the big three in Florida. If they get back to that truly elite status, it's going to be hard for schools to get them out of Florida.
Yeah, and I mean, if you look at it, everyone in the building is doing their job, from the position coaches, and Austin, you mentioned Alex Atkins and Chris Marv, but Marcus Woodson as well has done an outstanding job on the recruiting trail. And even for the guys off field, I mean, you've got Randy Shannon, Ryan Bartow, Kenyatta Watson, a ton of different guys on this staff that can recruit in a ton of different areas. And, these connections, they're really starting to pay off for Florida State at the right time. And as long as they carry that momentum onto the football field, I truly believe on the recruiting front, the sky is the limit right now for Florida State.
Yeah, and speaking of best recruiters, like part of the article was asking who's the best recruiter from each school you've seen recently. A lot of people said Randy Shannon from when he was at Miami, and just the job he did recruiting those areas players. And they were so struck by just how great of a job he did recruiting. Obviously, Alex Atkins was mentioned a lot for Florida State. Woodson got a couple mentions. T-Rob got a lot of love for Miami, and I mean a lot of love for Miami. Someone even said McElwain over Mullen, which was pretty funny. But I mean, it was a really interesting article.
McElwain was a better recruiter, but Mullen I would agree that McElwain's a better recruiter than Mullen, but Mullen's an elite X&O's coach. As much as you can bash it because it's Florida, but Mullen is a really good, damn good coach. But he's just
it was a really interesting article. It was a really interesting article for anyone that has The Athletic. I really recommend it. It took 10-15 minutes to go through it all, but it was really interesting.
Absolutely. Good. Glad you brought it up, Austin. I was going to mention real quick, Nate, you really get to have the chance to comment on Kenyatta Watson, but this goes back into recruiting too. But what is your thought on that with, bringing him in and helping out that Georgia region too? But, he's kind of everywhere, but primarily that Georgia region, Atlanta too, big time. There's a lot of talent up there, and Florida State's heavily trying to get those guys down into Tallahassee.
I think it's a grand slam. I know there are some people that were upset about, Bartow being hired over him, but now you got them both. You have a guy that's tied to that Atlanta area, which is just, like you said, Logan, is just growing massively in terms of skilled and talented football players. You have Bartow, who just can dominate Florida in South Georgia. So, you have what should be the main targets of Florida State in that Georgia, Florida area. That should be their main recruiting grounds. And now you have two guys who know everyone. They have great relationships with a lot of people. They're respected in those areas. And by them being at Florida State, there's a trust that, recruits can trust, that, hey, this guy can get my back. So I feel comfortable considering Florida State and probably going there. So great damn hire. Everything off the field is been really good for Norvell. And I agree with you. Sorry, whether you agree with that or not, I think since he's got at Florida State, I think his coaching hires have been good. You can debate, Coach Fuller, and I agree that the tenure is, it's still debatable on if he's the answer at defensive coordinator, but everything else, he's done right. Mm-hmm. And now we're seeing it on the recruiting front. And it just got to do it on the field. That's the last check. That's the last box to check. And if that happens, man, you got the recruiters on staff. You got guys who can evaluate really well. So I'm excited about the future, man. I really am.
Some tough news to go into here. Really, really, really disappointing news. Earlier this week on Tuesday, we received news that former Nole running back Cam Akers suffered a torn Achilles injury. He will be missing the 2021 season for the LA Rams. Absolutely devastating. I mean, the Rams were highlighting him on about every other day on social media. A lot of PR with him. He was going to be one of the highlighted guys of this team. Played very well as a true rookie last season. Florida State keeps on distributing these talented running backs out there and showing out. But Cam Akers, man, I hate seeing that because I was looking forward to him really leading this team on offense this upcoming season. And, you can say what you want about Stafford and whatnot, but I still think Stafford's got some gas in him at least for another couple seasons. And I thought it was going to be a perfect fit for Akers too, being able to be under a veteran like that, talented quarterback. We hate hearing that news. And, he's going to come back stronger than ever. He takes good care of his body, but just terrible, terrible news. And the Rams are in trouble now. They got to find a couple answers there, a running back at least to build some depth too.
Yeah. I don't know if you guys remember this, but did Dalvin tear his ACL his second year too?
No, his ACL was his third game.
Yeah,
that was his rookie year. I think it was his fourth. Yeah, it was his fourth game of his rookie year. Because I was here. I'm a Vikings fan. If you don't know, we went to the NFC title game because of the Minneapolis Miracles that year. Which, if you imagine that team with Dalvin, had he been healthy, it's insane.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was just kind of thinking they might kind of be along the same path. I was kind of making a comparison, but it really sucks for Cam because, as you saw during his rookie season, he really started to come along late. And I thought he was playing his best football at the end of the season. And it really seemed like that was going to carry into his second year. So, this is a really unfortunate setback, but, hopefully he can just come back even stronger.
And Achilles injuries are tough, especially for a running back.
I hate it.
That they rely on their feet so much. I mean, obviously every football player does, but especially running backs. I mean, we saw what it did to Durant. He had to miss an entire season, and then it kind of took him a little bit to get back to his form this year, just playing basketball. So how it's going to be for a football player, full year of rehab, then trying to get back to taking those blows as a running back that takes more blows than any other position, on the field. It's tough. It's really, really tough, but he'll bounce.
It's definitely a terrible timeline to have that injury, in late July, and now you've got that long recovery for the Achilles. So like you said, pretty much takes him out for, all of this year, obviously, and then, hopefully not all of next season as well, or the following season as well.
I agree with Logan that I think that Stafford still has a lot left. And I think that, I think him under McVay would have been, he's going to be fun to watch, but I think, with Cam, that I think that really would have allowed them to really challenge in the NFC. And I think that blow is, hard enough to question if they can make the playoffs now, because they didn't have much behind him. So where do they go now? But, personally for Cam, I agree with everyone else. I mean, I hate seeing that because, he was primed for a big year. He's getting a lot of recognition from, NFL Network and, all these fantasy football prognosticators looking at him as a breakout guy, and, him getting comparisons to Dickerson with the Rams and what they're doing on social media. He's getting a lot of attention as a breakout guy for this upcoming season. And I think that would have happened for him. But, like you said, Logan, he takes care of his body. And he is, going to make it back at some point. But, it's a different injury for a football player versus a basketball player. So it's going to take us some time, but I'm really hoping he gets back.
Yeah, I know. I wish him all the best, and you hope that he has a great recovery so he can come back and be, running back, I should say. Almost played a little bit of it at FSU at some points back there at Wildcat, but, I just still think with Stafford back there would have been a perfect fit for him to learn behind a quarterback like that. Being the running back right next to him, I mean, he was going to be a big time product for the Rams this upcoming year. So, and I love Coach McVay too.
And this may sound like wrong, but I hate the fact that it happened now and not before he could get a chance at a second contract. Because you don't know how he's going to come back because it's a harder injury in football than it is any other sport. So, hopefully he can come back and continue to prosper.
There was a report I wanted to share here that I found this week that I thought was a little interesting. So supposedly this is from the Boston Globe. Let's just put that out there first before we deep dive into it. But a report here saying that Sean Payton already favors Taysom Hill over Jameis Winston. According to Ben Vollen of the Boston Globe, he's saying that the quarterback competition is not truly open for Payton, and the Saints veteran coach plans to start Hill and only make a chance with Winston if his experiment fails.
Well, it's going to fail.
That's your easy answer.
So I mean,
I've got a lot of things.
What's the fascination with Taysom?
I want to know too. I want to know what Peyton's fascination is. I'm blocked by Sean Payton. I thought we would be able to fix that, so I can't tweet him and ask him. But
everyone made a big to do about Dak Prescott his rookie year. NFL figured him out. The NFL figured out Lamar Jackson a little bit. So they're going to figure out the tendencies and the weaknesses. Taysom Hill in college wasn't a great passer. At BYU, he was injured all the time. Always a great runner, great athlete. I don't understand it, and I'm not saying that as a Jameis fan. I don't understand the fascination with him, and seeing the work that Jameis has put in. He's preparing as a starter, and I do question why even resign with them if that's the case. And we talked a little bit about that before we hopped on here. Is that's some bad advice on his part, but it looks like Jameis is prepared to be the guy. But I don't get the Taysom Hill fascination. I'm sorry, I don't get it.
Yeah, I mean, it's a gimmick, and it's not going to end up working. I think if they do end up rolling with Taysom Hill, I think, by the early part of the season, game 4, game 5, you're probably like, what the heck is going on here with the Saints? So, I hope that report is false, Logan. I hope this is an open competition between Jameis and Taysom Hill, because we've seen all of the work that Jameis is putting in. We got to be around him a little bit earlier this offseason and get to watch him work. And, it seems like he's truly embraced this opportunity for a second chance, and he's trying to set himself up as well as he can. So it only makes sense he should get a fair shake.
Well, I hope that if he goes Taysom Hill, they go 0-17 and he gets fired.
Absolutely. What an idiot. Let's just be honest. That would be an idiotic move to do that. Jameis Winston definitely deserves. I thought, he didn't get to play much last year, but, he got to learn behind Drew Brees, one of the best to do it at that position that we've seen in our generation. And it would be absolutely idiotic to see Taysom Hill trot out there. I forget what I'm going to start going through they have a big game to start off the season, but it'd be absolutely idiotic to have Taysom Hill be out there and be your starter. I don't understand what the fascination is.
Didn't
it's the
Drew
Packers.
Brees, Didn't Drew Brees mouth to Jameis, this is your team now, or something?
I think that's the rumor, at least. Yeah, that's what they think he said, but who knows, really?
Man,
this is Taysom Hill's team. That's what he was saying.
don't resign. This ain't your team now.
Yeah, run while you can. Get out of there. Nick's saying here on Facebook, saying Hill can't close games. Jameis Winston has the experience and finally a team to grow and improve with. Jameis will get to start before season's end. Well, I think he should get to start right off the bat. That's just me. I mean, it might take a couple of games, but I think Jameis Winston's, if it's not truly a competition, Jameis Winston will probably light it up in the training camp, and still Taysom Hill will be trotted out there. And I hope they get absolutely demolished by, hopefully, I'm fingers crossed, Aaron Rodgers will be at that game, and I hope he just absolutely destroys them. Will Aaron Rodgers be there? We'll see.
Nope.
Hey, so let me ask you this, Logan. You mentioned a lot about the work that Jameis Winston has put in the offseason. How do you feel about being a Pittsburgh fan, seeing the shape that Big Ben is in, looking like he just got off a 2-month?
Be smart. Be smart about this. Remember, you're going to be nice all night long. We were all going to be nice to each other.
I'm asking, as a fan of the Steelers, are you concerned with your starting quarterback looking like a guy who looks like he just came from the local bar trying to get out on the field to show him what he's got left?
Well, I think he showed up to training camp in perfect shape. I think he likes a couple beers here and there. Who doesn't? A true football player. I want my football player. I want my quarterback to drink beer, first of all. That's a mandatory thing for me. Mm-hmm. But secondly, my quarterback threw 3,800 yards last year, coming back from an elbow injury, and threw 33 touchdowns for me.
Yeah,
I feel kind of fine.
He did, and I wonder if his poor shape helped them lose 5 out of the last 6 and choke in the playoffs? Was that what happened?
Well, now there's a lot of things that went down with that, as a lot of people got hurt. But if we're kind of transitioning this to, if I want, this would be like a magical kind of transition for me, kind of like how Austin went through being able to grab, one of those guys called Dalvin Cook with his Vikings. Mm-hmm. Everybody has always kind of pictured a little bit of Jameis Winston fitting very well and Pittsburgh along with Mike Tomlin over there. Yeah. I think it'd be a phenomenal fit. I would say, Haskins isn't going to do anything. Mason Rudolph isn't going to do anything.
Mm-mm. Big
Ben is either on his. This has got to be potentially. Just really depends on how the season goes because Big Ben he's a sensitive guy in some manners.
38,
39.
Man, already.
Yep. But yes, all I'll say is yes. So it's bittersweet. If Sean Payton wants to do that, go right ahead, kind of. I'll still really be ticked off, and I'll probably get suspended on Twitter like I did last year, and I'll get blocked. But I would actually travel to Pittsburgh on the day that Jameis Winston arrives there and welcome him with pom poms.
I would, and maybe this ain't the right answer, and I don't think Jameis would do it because he's all about the team. But man, if I were him and they chose Taysom, I'd be like, man, y'all keep your money.
Get out now. Bye.
Who
wants me?
You got to figure that out.
Well, he's turned down reportedly, whenever there was a lot of teams talking with him. He turned down a few teams that even reported more that were offering more money. And Steelers, I think, were most certainly in that mix. I don't know if it was more money. I don't think it definitely wasn't. I don't think more money, but that opens up the option for if he wants to go pick some of these other teams. So I'm also interested. Yeah.
I just can't wait to watch Taysom Hill lead a 2-minute offense down 7.
And make it 6 yards.
He'll take a 20-yard sack trying to be Houdini in the backfield.
Mm-hmm. Real quick, I want to mention before we go into our top concerns heading into fall camp, Vince Williams. This was really a crappy week for. Just added on for me, but Vince Williams announced his retirement from the Pittsburgh Steelers, NFL overall, but he spent his whole entire time and career with Pittsburgh. Phenomenal. He was at some point one of the best linebackers in the league, represented Florida State very well, represented the whole city of Pittsburgh phenomenally, was entertaining. I will never forget, whenever the Steelers were up, I think it was Thursday Night Football, and they were up, 20 points in the fourth quarter, and DeAndre Hopkins scored the touchdown and was laying down. And Vince Williams jumps in and he gets right next to him in front of the camera. DeAndre Hopkins pushing him, getting him off. But no, we've had Vince on here. We're always thankful for him coming on here and hanging out with us. But what a phenomenal career for him. A little shocking to me. I thought he'd go this season and maybe figure out what the next step was for him. And a lot of Steelers fans were shocked that this happened before training camp. So, congratulations to Williams. I know he's going to spend a lot of time with family, and I'll definitely miss him. He was one of my favorites. I still am going to get a jersey for this upcoming season, but he just represented everywhere well, and was a great player. Coming that late in rounds in his NFL draft and playing the way that he did, Pittsburgh and Coach Tomlin. There's so much love for him in that city.
He definitely outplayed his projection for sure. He's a prototypical 2-down linebacker. Really good at stuffing the run, and he had a really good season last year. Congrats for having a great career. Getting out when you're still healthy, getting out with money in the bank, so he can move on to other endeavors.
Yes, 6-round picks generally don't last 8 years in the NFL. So
most people generally don't last 8 years, I would say.
As a linebacker too.
So a fantastic career from him, all things considered, for a 6th rounder.
And healthy too, no major injuries. If you think about it, I can't think of anything like, like knee, nothing that is, could long term, so.
Yeah. And like Logan said, represented not only Florida State, but the Pittsburgh Steelers very well.
Mm-hmm.
So, just a class act, both on the field and off the field. Great guy. And, looking forward to seeing what's next for him.
Yeah, no, and some of the nastiest hits too. Made some big time plays. I remember it was late in the second half against the Patriots, and got the pick off of Tom Brady. One of the few that Tom Brady threw with the Patriots, picked him off. He was very much loved in that city, And, I still plan on wearing number 98 this upcoming season. And, I definitely, it was phenomenal being able to have him come on here and allowing us to interview him and talk a lot about his time with Mickey Andrews and with Los and how it was then and building that team at FSU and then being a late round guy and performing the way that he did. And he seems like he's so genuine and humble about it. And he's like Los said, he's quiet, but, just has represented everything that he's done very well. He's been a part of. So. And Mike Tomlin's definitely going to miss him.
Yeah, a lot of those linebackers, not to get out too far off base, we have more to talk about, but a lot of those linebackers from that era at FSU have done well in the NFL. Moody was doing good in the NFL. Terrence Smith is still hanging in there. So
Christian Jones is doing well with the Chicago Bears, like very well. He's playing a lot
back in Chicago. So
yep. Mm-hmm. Yep. So actually now, I keep on thinking, I guess, he was with Chicago. Now, I guess Detroit. Yep. Detroit now.
For his career, a little bit of insight. Career 479 tackles, 50 tackles for loss, 20 and a half sacks, $10 million in salary, and $9 million in bonuses. It's not bad.
Nice.
Not bad at all.
Absolutely. I'll help take care of the fam.
In and out, 8 years.
Slap me some.
You ain't getting nothing.
Hey, I'm sure he remembers me from when he came on here.
I'm sure
remembers me.
I'm sure he does. I still got to get that jersey signed now. Dustin, I got to talk with Los.
One thing you are, a very memorable guy. We'll say that. Just to say, keep that going, man.
Well, thank you. That's a nice compliment from you, Nate.
Yeah, man. Yeah.
You guys also. I just want to compliment it that y'all been killing it tonight. We're really just building up our friendships on here. So let's keep it up, gentlemen, to finish off this podcast.
Yeah,
Great
man.
job. Great job. Y'all are doing awesome.
It's just the camaraderie that, we just continue to build. It's like a brotherhood.
Yeah, we all love each other. On to the last thing here before we drop into a little bit of basketball, and then we got a note on the show, some show changes coming up. Let's talk about some concerns. Let's talk about a little bit of negatives before we start previewing these position groups starting next week with the offense. Our top concerns from all of us here, there can be multiple, there can be one main one. I don't care what you say, but give us y'all's top concerns heading to fall camp. I think there's a ton. I've got a few on the top of my head. I think there's a good amount, to be honest. I can start off because I've had this one on my mind for a couple of weeks now, and I've talked about it on the Mark Rogers show a few times. But my number one concern is going to be kind of easy here, and that's who's going to be my two starting corners. Who's it going to be? Am I going to see Jerry Jones go back out there? You lose Asante Samuel Jr. He's at the Chargers. He's going to absolutely kill it in the NFL over there. But going back here with the talent that you have, who are going to be your two starting corners? I think Jerry Jones was dealing with injuries throughout the whole season, mainly a hand one, gave him some problems. Will we see him jot out there? I want to see Miko Dotson. I thought that, he wasn't fully healthy either. He was put out there and made some plays on some balls, but I just didn't get to see enough. I have a lot of respect for him, and I think that he's a playmaker. Do I go over here and I grab a Brownlee guy that's got the energy? He was starting in a couple of spring scrimmages that me and Dustin were at. Who's going to be? Could it be a shocking guy? Could it be like Austin said, a bold prediction where he thinks Kevin Knowles is going to be a shocker and maybe jump into some of the rotation during fall camp? There's a lot of guys, and there's some that I might not even be naming right now, but I think that is one of my biggest concerns heading to fall camp. I'm
going to take that a couple steps further and just say the whole defense in general. I mean, last year they had so much talent and just completely underwhelmed. A lot of people are going to say Fuller schemes, but people are going to say the position coordinators weren't doing what they're supposed to do. I mean, we consistently saw the defensive line play without leverage, the linebackers out of position, defensive backs getting beat, whether it's the wrong coverage, whether they're in the wrong spot. That's stuff they got to get figured out. That's another defense that has a ton of talent between Travis Jake, Kiara Thomas. We already talked about Jermaine Johnson. I think the linebackers are going to take a step forward. But just the defense in general last year was so underwhelming. But we got to see them take that step back to consistency if we want Florida State to get where we think they can get to.
The good thing is we have seen, the coaches take notice of that, and they've completely revamped the defensive end room. They've added a lot of talent to the defensive backfield. Not really much at linebacker, but the guys there are young and expected to continue to grow. So, I mean, there is some reasons for optimism that this defense is going to bounce back. And I wouldn't say, to the elite of college football, but, hopefully this defense, I would say if they're an average to above average unit, I mean, that's, basically all you can ask for at this point after what we saw last year.
Well, just kind of follow up on your guys' comments, one more year until the best cornerback in the history of high school football comes over, and there's Tallahassee and Travis Hunter. But, I agree with Dustin. And what Austin said, kind of a combination of everything. You look at the defense, and you can really question some of the calls, but some of that falls on the players and them just being dumb. And I'm not saying intellectually. I'm just saying making dumb plays, being out of position, taking false steps. Not maybe necessarily being where they should be because they're not following the play, but at the end of the day, unfortunately, this guy get a pass rush. That's what's going to help. That secondary. Florida State is loaded in the secondary with talented players that everyone who's who in college football wanted. It's not a lack of talent. It's a lack of some coaching and understanding of maybe what the coach and the coaches want to do on that side of the ball. I don't know if they necessarily really knew what they wanted to do on defense last year, but these players need to take some ownership too in their play and in their lack of focus. So, but they got to get the pass rush. So, like Dustin said, they address that this offseason.
I mean, realistically, you could say there's a concern at every single position.
Mm-hmm.
Like at quarterback, you got Milton, who, he's proven, but he's been injured. Travis wasn't really a big throwing guy. There's concerns there. Running back, he was a big producer in Webb. Yeah, you've got Toafili, Corbin, and Williams, but how does that all shake out? Mm-hmm. Tight end group's really young and inexperienced. Offensive line hasn't been anything in a decade, which, they have some talent, but until they show us something, no one's going to believe it. Wide receiver room, really young, no production. You can go position by position and say it's your top concern, and no one would even bat an eye about it. There's a lot of question marks, but still a lot of talent.
Mm-hmm.
What are y'all's thoughts on Akeem Dent going back to the DB room? Feel like he's going to be back 100%. Didn't seem like he was fully there maybe last season. Was coming from a nasty ankle injury the year before. Yeah, no, not fully back, but seems like there's a lot of optimism that he's a full-on go healthy and ready to rock this season. Will he be a competitor in that cornerback room, or is that a potential big-time recruit? Is that a bust? Is Dent a bust or no?
I would not say he's a bust because he had a really good freshman season. He was banged up last year off that ankle, and he wasn't fully healthy. If you look what he's done this offseason, he's now the biggest cornerback. He's now 203 pounds. So, if he can get it back, he's a wild card. If he can get back to that freshman form, that's going to be really good for the defense. There's a lot of options back there, and there's a lot of versatility back there. So that's good for the defense, and they can put a lot of guys in different positions. So I'm eager to see how it all unfolds. But so DB's your main question.
I would say for me, I'm looking at the DB room and where those guys are going to be put in there, because that was little. Didn't seem like, I don't think the spring helped at all, but it just seemed all over the place for Coach Woodson. And I understand that there was injuries, and that of course did not help one bit. But you've got all that talent back there, and you got it. So it's not going to be the easy job. I think it's the same way, kind of a little bit for Coach Atkins on figuring out who fits where the best and where they can stay there the best for throughout the season. You can put someone in there for a little bit and they play well a few games, but man, can there be some consistency there? And that's something on the opposite side of Asante Samuel Jr., Florida State was not able to find. But I would say mine is that definitely who are your two starting cornerbacks, at least, if anybody else wants to give their main top concern.
I mean, should we say 3 since we run a lot of nickel? Because I think Brownlee's going to be in the slot primarily. I just think he's a perfect slot guy. Then who the 2 boundary corners are, that's a bigger discussion.
Yeah, who do you have? Who are you setting as that third guy? You got youngins too that are in also. Like who are you going to keep there? And that's a big time position nowadays.
Like who do I want it to be, or who do I think it's going to be?
How about both?
I would like to see. I think Brownlee is that sub package guy, who can also be like the primary, backup at one of the corner spots. I just like him in the way he can, he blitzes really well. I like him in smaller spaces. He was a freshman last year and he got beat on a lot of the intermediate deep stuff, but if you keep him in that 10 to 15, let him blitz, I think that utilizes his strength a little bit more. I would like to see Dent bounce back. I think that would be really good for this defense. I think Brandon Moore is going to have something to say. He was playing at a really high level before he got hurt. Eager to see how he comes back, but I think you're going to see a lot of rotation.
Is that a good thing or bad thing?
It depends.
I feel like there was a good amount of that last year. I know the health wasn't. We already mentioned that, but
yeah. I think you gotta let you guys get a rhythm, but also, I don't think they did hit a lot in the spring and how they were going to use everyone. Also, I think they were very vanilla during the spring. So, I want to see Travis Jay take the next step. I think that, him and I would like to see Ronaldo Green back at corner. I really liked him at corner as a freshman. I would like you got to get your best 5 on the field. Don't know how that unfolds yet, so I really can't answer on what I want or what I think it's going to be. I got to see some more, or hear some more from before camp starts. But they've been also competitive in 7-on-7s, and they've been going back and forth. So.
I was going to say, Dustin, to me, whenever we were watching Brandon Moore play, I thought that he was around the ball quite a bit on point at a pick off of, who was it? Was it Milton, I believe? In the second scrimmage we were at, he was playing. It's hard to kind of remember these now, but he played. We know overall, though, we were covering it.
I think it was Rodemaker, maybe.
Maybe.
But
I remember there being a red zone.
I do think Jaron Jones is going to have a lot to say. He's healthy. I think he had a really good spring, so I think he's going to have a lot to say. He had a nagging injury last year, and that, put him in a lot of bad spots. And, he pushed through injuries to be there for the team, so he's healthy. We'll see.
We haven't even brought up guys like Demore Tate, who is recovering from an injury, and also Kevin Knowles, who briefly got mentioned earlier, but very impressive during the spring. We'll see if he can pop into that rotation. So, really, there's a lot of options for Florida State at cornerback. And, the cream is going to rise to the top, as they say.
My concern is...
Yeah, give us your concern. What you got?
I agree with Austin. I think there are questions. This is a young team still. My biggest thing is, does this team have it mentally? And that's the biggest thing. I think that they've been just so soft, and they folded under pressure. What happens when adversity? I want to see what happens if they lose 2 games in a row. Do they give up and like we've seen the past couple of seasons, not put forth the best effort?
I will say I thought I did see a progression last season. Yeah, I'd say that there was a progression in some of the games last year. I mean, at some point they're just getting their asses whipped.
Yeah,
but
like the Miami game, they gave up.
If I'm looking at how it was under Taggart's direction towards what Norvell was, I thought there was definitely progression overall. Like that, I don't think there's even an argument there. I think it could still get better, but you're sitting at a pretty awful schedule, or not awful. Well, it's going to be a terrible schedule for them this year, but going off of their record too, it's not going to be so motivating to play. But I thought there was at least, finishing games for say they did a little bit better, but it's still not at the Florida State caliber, like you're saying. No. Nate, you've covered this team longer than we have, and they haven't played at the Florida State caliber that we know of and that you know of, and it's still going to take, I think, a season or two.
That mentality, they want to drag you through the dirt.
And they've also, let's mention this too, Florida State and Norvell have eliminated some players that were some of the main causes as the ones that were feeding off of that kind of negative and just give up kind of mentality, and that's something I think that will be, something optimistic to think about, but it's definitely a concern. I think it's a concern almost heading into any season since the last 4 years, 5 years.
Yeah, I mean, that every big game they've laid a leg. Except for Carolina this past year, they've laid an egg in every big game. When it's gotten tough, they folded as a whole. It's year 2 under Norvell, but really it's year 1. I just want to see, a tougher team mentally. Everyone's talking about the schedule. Yeah, it is tough on paper right now, but shit always happens. There's always injuries. Teams always underwhelmed, or teams are overachieved. Looking at like a Boston College who overachieved last year, does that carry over to the next year? It's not the same team like Jimbo preached for so long. Is each year is a different team. So, I'm not sort of on the schedule being as tough as everyone else does right now. But man, I don't know, man. This team is more talented than people think.
D'Lo, what would be your top concern heading into this season for this FSU?
So you guys have kind of talked about the defense a little bit, so I'll shift to offense. But I would just say, the lack of proven playmakers at wide receiver and tight end, because obviously you've got Parchment coming in, you got high hopes for him, but he hasn't been in this system. So he's coming in from a new system, and you're going to need him to be productive instantly. And then you look at what Florida State, already has, and guys like Ontario Wilson, Keyshawn Hilton, they've been decent during their careers, but they haven't really gotten to that level where they've put it all together and, they're consistently putting in performances week in and week out. Same thing with some of that younger talent, Brian Robinson, some guys like that. And then you've got the freshmen coming in, Malik McClain, Joshua Burrell. So there's potential in that room. And, we talked a little bit about it last week, but there's not a ton of proven talent. And you're really wanting to see those younger guys start to take steps week by week during fall camp leading up to kickoff, because, they're going to be asked to – a lot of guys who haven't gotten a lot of playing time are going to be asked to do a lot this upcoming season.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, my whole thing is that's number 3 on my list is playmaking. This team has a lot of Burt Reeds, but they don't have a Rashad Green. And if Parchment can be even close to him in terms of production, I think that changes that offense takes another step. But there isn't a guy that is that home run hitting. You can go to him, consistent playmaker yet. So
I would say that I'm a little bit higher on the tight end maybe than most, just because I think Cam McDonald, he's a solid player, and Jordan Wilson, I think he's going to come back from his injury and be productive for Florida State. Jackson West, I mean, there's some talent there in that tight end room, and that's a unit that Mike Norvell really likes to utilize in his offense. So I think they're going to have some interesting wrinkles up their sleeve, because there's a bunch of different guys in that room. They've all got different skill sets and ways they can contribute. you think about Rector. I'm trying to forget the walk-on's name, Preston Daniel. Before that escapes me. So I mean, there's a bunch of different skill sets, and I'm really interested to see how they'll all be used.
I think there's going to be a lot of shocks. I think there's going to be a lot of shocks and a lot of shock that young incoming guys that are going to be on that field, like Malik McLean, that is going to shock a lot of people. Maybe even Burrell if he gets in there, but Malik McLean is going to be kind of a surprise there. And we haven't been able to see Jordan Wilson yet, but that let's just say that dude looks like a just freakish athlete. Like that size is not even funny. That both him and Jermaine Johnson look like those are the next Twin Towers.
But you look at a guy like Jackson West, Dustin, and Kobe Gross, guys who
forgot about Kobe. Like there's a bunch of guys there,
or big guys that are running with the receivers. So they're athletes and they're faster than a lot of the receivers. So, they're big-bodied athletes that, Coach Norvell has always done really well with tight ends. So, let's give it some time. Let's see. Let's see what happens.
That's what. When you think about the issues with the tight end room, and the running backs, like I'm just like, all right, I'll let Mike Norvell shake that out because he's done it plenty of times before with less talent.
Yep.
Mm-hmm. Nate, you said you had some concerns about the Moore, and you wanted to.
Yeah, man.
Express.
Like one of the guys that commented earlier, I'm really concerned about, where Florida State's going to fit all these trophies they're going to collect at the end of the season. You got the college football playoff championship. You got the ACC. Probably throwing a Heisman, a Thorpe, maybe a Doak Walker in there. Maybe a Benerick. Where are they going to put all this for one season?
Mm-hmm.
You got Coach of the Year for Norvell. It's just going to be, it's going to be like a 2022 wing.
Yeah, they're going to have to make the whole wing for it.
Yeah. So, I'm just that's one of my concerns too.
That can be the game plan and go ahead and start blowing out a lot of that. Get ready for the new facility too. You'll have the money for it then.
You got Baby and Johnson in the Outland.
And the statues that would be built too, right?
For sure. Mackenzie Mountain statue.
Oh man, it's gonna be phenomenal to see.
Bouncing back and
DeAndre Francois statue.
Francois is getting his, Nate.
Man.
No, stop, Dustin. Look what you done, Dalton. Anyways, we were doing so good.
My cell phone battery's running low, which means that my
you can't.
My niceness is going to run low, so I'll not
keep it down.
Comment on DeAndre Francois and his ineptitude.
I was going to ask real quick too before we move on. Thought it was pretty interesting. None of us mentioned Florida State's offensive line. When is the last time that's happened in the last 10 years? I wouldn't say 10 years, but
I talked about it real quick. But
is Florida State's offensive line a concern heading into fall camp, gentlemen?
Until they show something, yes.
I think they're 18th in the country last year in the running in terms of a running offense, and that was like a 80 position jump, and I think that's going to get better. I think better quarterback play helps that passing, the pass protection. So I think they definitely got to get better in terms of giving the quarterback more time to throw. But I think with a better quarterback behind center, I think that's going to cut down on the sacks, which will in turn, that's going to help. It's going to help the offense. I think you're going to see some really solid progression with Robert Scott at one of the tackle spots. You get Love Taylor back. You really got to really like what Gibbons can do for the offense. What happens at the other tackle spot is up for grabs. Does Maurice Smith lock down center again? And you look at a guy like Zane Herring, who before he got hurt was getting a lot of minutes as a starter. So, I really look at that positional group and think that the tough times are in the rearview mirror with the coach they have, who these players have done a really good job of just taking the coaching from him. He's connected well. he's developing them, and his way of coaching is connected, and I think that you're going to continue to see improvements. To be the number 18, imagine Cam Akers and Dalvin Cook behind the 18th best running offense. That would have been ridiculous.
Yeah.
And we did see a ton of improvement as the season went along. We talked about it a lot throughout the podcast last year, just how much progress they were making, in pass protection, not only run blocking, but pass protection as well.
Yeah.
And that was without an offseason with Atkins. Now they have a full offseason, full summer camp, full fall camp where they get to really dial in, strengthen up, learn the systems a little bit better. And, like Nate said, hopefully the tough times are behind us, but until they show us that they are, then, of course there's going to be concerns about them.
I mean, I think they're going to be average this year, which is significantly better than what it's been.
Definitely.
Next year could be above average. And then with the talent they're bringing in this class and what they could possibly still add to the class, then we're talking about, all right, now we got
now
it.
it's turning. Now it's turning where average
Now-
goes to above average.
Now you got some athletes, some real players on top of some great coaching. That's when you're going to see that jump to the next level.
Yeah. And I mean, the biggest thing for that offensive line and is for Coach Atkins, that kind of job that he's going to have to do for this fall camp and figuring out. I think there's going to be a lot of different kind of schemes that he's going to run through on who fits where, but that's going to be a big time job for him and figuring out who fits where and the best. Nick's on here asking how much of that improvement was defenses sitting back because of Jordan Travis's run threat though last year.
Yeah, that added to it, but you have to look at the story of Norvell. Is he's always had a really good run offense, even when he was at Arizona State as the offensive coordinator. That's one thing he's done well, and you can control a lot of games by being a really good run offense. And they have a quarterback in Milton that can push the ball down the field now, and we'll see what happens.
I think this is something I agree with 125%. If you really think about it, if Florida State were to land 5-star Kevin Coleman, you're able to, we'll figure out what's going on with Destin Hill, but let's just say you're getting Destin Hill too. You've already got McLean. You've got Andrew Parchment. I'm missing one that I was just thinking. You've
Brian
got, of course,
Robinson.
Brian Robinson. You've also got a guy, maybe, Travis Hunter, that I think is he's pretty good, right? I think he's like one of the top. He's in the top 10 of one of the best players, right?
Parchment won't be on the roster next year, though.
Parchment
I'm thinking Parchment's got another season. Is it Gibbons that there was something that just got?
Yeah, Gibbons has two.
Gibbons has two.
Mm-hmm.
But looking ahead, though, also Joshua Burrell. I mean, that whole wide receiver room is completely stacked.
I mean, Coleman is that guy. He is that
wide receiver.
He's that wide receiver. Destin Hill is that wide receiver. You got to figure that shit out, how to get him into Tallahassee. Those two, man, woo. But yeah, Coleman is that guy. Coleman's that guy.
2 Ferraris and some Porsches around it, potentially. I'm excited to see McLean overall this upcoming year too.
Mm-hmm.
Let's jump into some basketball here. Dustin and Austin have been going at it in text, and we've been all nice to each other tonight. But Dustin, I get to say it right up here, right up front. We haven't been able to have Scottie on here.
You're an idiot.
Dustin's saying that Scottie Barnes is going to be a bust. Not so much of a fan. Thought it was a letdown.
I think
time
he's
at Florida
going to be
State.
a bust. I didn't say he's going to be a bust.
He thinks he's going to be. That changes everything. Thank you.
No.
He thinks,
said before that he's going to be a bust.
I think he's going to. No, I said I think.
No, you said
is thinking gonna really change much?
To be fair, Dustin's exact words in the group chat were, "I just think Scottie's going to bust. I don't get the hype."
What's the difference between?
Dang! Austin's got the receipts.
That's good. I said I think. That's the truth.
And I think you're a moron. So
dang, we were going on such a good streak.
That's not too nice.
That wasn't nice, Austin.
I don't care.
We're gonna lose what's his name on here on YouTube. We've been supposedly too mean to each other, so that's why we're being nice. Anybody didn't get that, and Nate's gone now. But yeah, do you think Austin Scottie is a top 5 pick?
From what I've been told, I have talked with a lot of NBA people, a lot. Just talking where are these people going, talking to agents. Scottie's not falling past 6, which as of right now, the 6th pick belongs to the OKC Thunder. Toronto's done a ton of work on him at 4. Orlando's done a lot of work on him at 5. I wouldn't be surprised if someone trades up, like if he gets to 6 and someone convinces Orlando, hey, we'll give you this and this to come up against, or convinces OKC, we'll give you this and this to come up against Scottie. I could absolutely see it. I don't love his fits with any of those teams mentioned. Toronto, they've already got Pascal Siakam and OG Anunoby, 2 guys on the wing where Scottie's going to play in the NBA. He's not going to be a point guard in the NBA. I just don't think he's a good enough scorer for today's league. I think he's a perfect Draymond kind of guy where if he went to Golden State, learn from Draymond for a year or 2 and then take over that role for the next 10 years, I think he's got one of the best careers of anyone in this class. But if he goes to a Toronto where he's buried on a depth chart, or he goes to an Orlando where he's behind, John Isaac, Shumo Okiki, a lot of these guys just buried on the depth chart. They already have spacing issues. OKC's a really young team, so I could see him going there and having success playing alongside Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, and Shai's had a lot of success playing off ball as well. I think that kind of stuff that could work out well if with their later picks. I think OKC has, pick 17 and pick 21 or something like that. If they had some shooting with those picks, then yeah, it could work out. But to me, his best fits are 3 at Cleveland, which from what I've been told, they're going to take of whoever's left of Jalen Green and Evan Mobley, and then 7 Golden State. To me, those are his 2 best fits, but I don't see him going either of those 2. It'll be one of the teams 4 through 6.
You aren't wrong, Austin. I do think Golden State would absolutely be the best fit for him out of anybody on this list because, to me, that makes, kind of his liability with outside shooting not as much of a concern whenever you've got Steph Curry and Klay Thompson next to you. And, that's the same thing that helps out Draymond Green. So, yeah, to me, it's really going to come down to where he goes. Like you said, Austin, there are some situations that are going to be worse for him and some situations that are going to be better. So hopefully he gets a good fit wherever he does end up.
As long as he doesn't end up in Orlando.
Yeah, I'm kind of the same way. I don't want him in Orlando right now.
I think Golden State's really going for the home run, and I think they're going to try to trade those picks for like a Damian Lillard. I want to see him. I want to see him as a Celtic.
Dang, Dustin, you're not going to sit there and be like, yes, that'd be awesome. I'd love him.
No. For me, man, I'm not really into it like Austin is with the basketball into the NBA. I just hope he doesn't end up in Orlando, though. That's just not a good match.
It's just because of the spacing issues they've had. It'd be the same thing if New Orleans was to trade up. It'd be such a terrible fit with Zion and Brandon Ingram. Mm-hmm. It'd be such a terrible fit. Same thing with Sacramento. I just don't see that as that good of a fit. Really, I think Cleveland's a great fit. Like I know a lot of people are like, oh God, Cleveland. We've already got
Minnesota.
Nah, they don't have a pick. That's the thing because that's the Warriors pick at 7.
Yep.
I would love them in Cleveland if Cleveland decided, like, if they fell out of love with Jalen Green or something like that and they trade down to 5. I would love to see him play on the wing next to Darius Garland and Colin Sexton, who both play like shooting guards but are built like point guards. You put in a guy like Scottie who plays like a point guard but he's a power forward. I think it's a dream come true for that team. It gives them some defense, gives them some versatility, gives them some playmaking. I think it makes a ton of sense. Whether they trade down, whether Orlando wants to give up both 5 and 8 to go up 2 spots to select one of those guys, I don't know.
Let's hope.
But I don't want him going to Orlando. As cool as it would be to see him playing alongside John Isaac and just have this terror tower combo of Scottie Barnes and John Isaac just wreaking havoc across the lane, blocking shots from the weak side, the offense would be miserable to watch in today's NBA.
I would love him with the Warriors. I said that about Vassell, didn't I? Said that about Vassell. Yeah, I was hoping to get him.
I think it was Patrick, maybe.
He was good with either.
Yeah,
Either would have been good fits with Golden State.
I would have taken both. I just need really that drive to really watch NBA during the regular season, to be honest. And maybe I just need a Noel. Dustin doesn't want a Noel whatsoever on his basketball team, but
I've wanted so many.
No, you don't get Scottie now.
I didn't want Scottie.
You won't be able to get him.
I wanted so many other guys. I wanted Malik. I wanted Pat. I wanted Devin.
No, you don't.
I wanted Dwayne Bacon. I wanted Isaac. If anything, that should tell you something, that I wanted all those guys and I don't want Scottie.
Tells you you're a moron.
Oh, man.
But get into some of these other guys. Obviously, Scottie is not the only guy in the draft. Raekwon Gray surprised a lot of fans when he decided to stay in the draft, sign an agent. He had a weird combine process where, he measured in at 17% body fat, but he still tested kind of well. Like his athletic traits were still like on par with everyone else. The size is going to concern some people, but some other teams are going to go, he did this at this size. That's the guy we want. A couple teams I've been told to watch out for. New Orleans at 40 is I think's the highest he would go. He spent a lot of time in San Antonio, and if you think back to those mid 2010s runs when they had Boris Diaw, Turk's a very similar player to Boris Diaw. Dustin will like this. Boston at 45.
I will not hate that.
Back a couple seasons ago, they tried to convince him to go to the draft so they could take him as an undrafted free agent or late second round. So that's a team to keep an eye on. And then you go further down the list. I think Philadelphia at 50 makes a lot of sense. Get another playmaker there alongside Ben Simmons. New Orleans again at 53. I think any of those teams I would keep a strong eye on. Obviously, the second round's a crapshoot. Like, there's so many trades throughout the night.
Yeah.
Those would be the teams I'm watching out for. I was told by Florida State staff Balša Koprivica could get a late second round grab because he's got a rare skill set for someone that's 7'1". His feet are so quick, his hands are so strong, and we saw how he progressed throughout the season. He's worked out with, I think, 6 teams in the last 2.5 weeks. I mean, he's been cross country. One team to really keep an eye on there is Charlotte. He was working out here last week, and they own book picks 56 and 57 at the end of the second round. That's the one situation I could see him going to. He worked out for the Lakers. If that happens, it's going to be an undrafted free agency spot. I think he worked out for Sacramento today or yesterday. Their only second round pick as of now is 39. That's another undrafted look. And then with MJ Walker, at this point, it's looking like he's going to go undrafted and get a 2-way contract, much like Trent Forrest did a year ago, which is not a bad way to go. Guys have made a career off of it. So, but that's what we're hearing as of now. A week away from the draft. Obviously, we'll have more full coverage in the Discord and hopefully on this podcast next week.
Yep.
So MJ was in Brooklyn today working out.
He's another guy that's just worked out everywhere. He's been OKC. He was in Charlotte at the same time as Balša. As you mentioned, Brooklyn. I'm trying to think of a couple other teams. He's worked out with like 9 or 10 teams.
Wow.
I think he worked out with Boston 2 weeks ago. He's been everywhere.
Good for him.
Appreciate the comment.
Fiddle Griddle here with a comment on YouTube saying Austin is a sexy man.
Appreciate that.
Do you know who this person is, Austin?
I'm assuming it's Chief Fiddle in the Discord.
Maybe so. I just didn't know.
That's my guess.
I didn't know if it was one of the girls.
I hope
on Twitter.
I hope it is.
I hope so too. I'd be pulling for you, my man. If the show's starting to bring in the ladies on a 10:30 Thursday night show, we've officially really made it. Right, Nate. Wake up! Oatmeal's not ready yet. Up there. You go.
My phone's at 4%. Waiting for y'all assholes to hurry up.
It looks like it's about to explode. It's off and on. The battery's about to explode. But yeah, I think that's practically about everything on here. I know we want to mention maybe really quickly 2022 offensive tackle Dachi Richardson, I believe, is committing on Oh God, I'm gonna screw this up. August 2nd. I don't know.
No, he's committing on Sunday.
Yeah, the 25th. Dude.
That's close enough, right?
No, it's not.
It'd be nice. Be nice for him. That would all be nice.
He's committing December 27th, right around the corner.
Well, crap. Well, he's committing Florida State. How do y'all feel about it? Quick, kind of.
Quick. I think it's a FSU
Discord.
Miami Kentucky battle, and feeling good about where FSU stands right now. Checking the Discord for more.
A lot more.
I think that he's a developmental talent that you take and receive in 2 years.
And then one last thing here. Florida State's holding a big-time recruiting event this weekend. Dustin, you've been all over it, updating the guys inside Patreon and /Discord. That list keeps growing. Some kind of subtracting a little bit, but growing more every day a little bit, seems like. But you've got a big-time star coming in, your biggest recruiting talent with Travis Hunter coming this weekend too.
Yeah, it doesn't matter. Hunter's there. Wrap it up. Next.
It's over. If it's over, Travis Hunter's there.
Yeah, it's done.
I mean, you got 4 5-star defensive backs that are going to be in Tallahassee this weekend. Travis Hunter, Sam McCall, Tony Mitchell, and Cormani McLean. So,
yeah.
And I mean, that's not it. There's going to be a ton of talent there across the board. What are you doing over there, Logan?
Top 2. I was doing the top 2 corners in the 2023 class will be in attendance this weekend.
Yeah, make sure to say that. And also, high priority offensive tackle target Elijah Pritchett among the guys expected to be in attendance. And this is going to be another kind of social event for Florida State to continue building connections. And then there's also going to be some guys that go through workouts. I don't know if everybody in attendance is going to do it, but I know at least some guys will be working out inside Doak Campbell Stadium with the coaching staff. So should be an exciting Sunday.
Absolutely. Love the competition. Got a lot of talent there. I'd love to see some clips. We might need to sneak over there. I'm actually in town for this one, D-Lou. Might have to do a little sneaking.
Real quick. And
you live in Tallahassee. Where else would you be?
I was in Dallas for the last one. Go ahead, Nate, before your phone explodes.
Yeah, before my phone dies. Yeah, and, so Florida State has the best football player in the last 5 years on campus. But you mentioned the 2 corners that Florida State is sitting in a good position for. So yeah, like a good to great for both of those guys.
Yeah, a lot of them big men too, big boys. Which FSU fans will take it any day of the week. I just wanted to kind of end this off here too, as you've kind of noticed here the last couple of weeks, and obviously this week we don't have Los on here. Sadly, he talked with us in the group chat, and let us know he's gonna be focusing on his career right now, and also his personal life and taking care of the family. So he told us he can no longer, he doesn't have the time to come on the show, and he wishes us the best. And we're always still going to stay in contact. We're always going to be family, and we were talking. We'll still chat here and there. Might be able to have him on here to preview a few games with us, but it was really his decision, just to focus on what he needs to focus on. And so we wish him all the best, and definitely appreciate him coming on here. The multiple times of great memories of Nate and Los absolutely going at it from week 1, I think was one of the best things of the show whenever both of them were on at the same time. But, he brought in some great insight, and I think, I wish him all the best, and he's always treated us like family, and we will do the same to him all the time. So best of luck to him.
Yeah. Nah, I can't go there.
You think
I can't go there.
No.
I was going to say something, but I'm not going to go there in terms of talking about other podcasts. But
you're being nice tonight.
So yeah,
I know what you're going. You're going to stay nice.
I wish Los a lot of luck. It was fun. Debating him and always being correct.
Yeah, 100%. I'll look. I will say he would get heated a few times, but then he would bounce back and listen, and he would say, "Okay, I understand that." Yeah. So he was by far a great addition. We wish him luck, and maybe down the road we'll be able to get him back on here. But still, we'll always be family, and So yeah, I just want to kind of mention that before we end off the podcast. Gentlemen, I thought this was stacked beyond belief. It just goes to show we used to do these little silly segments where we did dad jokes. We've come a far ways of that in radio.
Those days, to be fair.
I know you do, because those are your tender lines. But yeah, absolutely think we did a great job here, kind of giving y'all some information, getting y'all ready for fall camp. Next week we'll start on the offense. We'll go position by position, breaking it down. Then the next week after that, it will be defense along with special teams, and we'll give our last little thoughts before fall camp begins. Gentlemen, thank you all so much for coming on here. You all can also listen to the podcast on iTunes, Google Play, Spotify, YouTube. If you're on YouTube right now, I would definitely appreciate if you hit the like button and the subscription button. It's free to do, it's quick to do, and it definitely helps support us trying to get that YouTube channel growing quite a bit. But I definitely appreciate all the support from you all. We will see you guys next week on Thursday at 8:30 p.m. We're getting closer to football season, fellas. It feels good. We're getting there. See you guys next week.
Good night.
Thank you.